Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button and also subscribe to my channel. Partnership of Saudi with China will collapse the U.S. economy, OPEC and Petrodollar. Make sure to watch the full video. People with knowledge of the situation claim that Saudi Arabia is actively negotiating with Beijing to price some of its oil sales to China in Yuan. If this were to happen, it would weaken the dollar's hegemony over the world's oil markets and signal another shift by the world's top crude exporter toward Asia. The discussions with China over oil contracts priced in Yuan have been ongoing for 6 years, but they have picked up steam this year as the Saudis have grown increasingly dissatisfied with long-standing U.S. security guarantees to defend the country, the people said. The U.S. refusal to back Saudi Arabia's intervention in the civil war in Yemen and the Biden administration's effort to reach a nuclear agreement with Iran have infuriated the Saudis. The abrupt U.S. pullout from Afghanistan last year, according to Saudi officials, surprised them. More than 25% of the oil that Saudi Arabia sells is purchased by China. Those sales, if priced in yuan, would raise the value of the Chinese currency. The Saudis are also thinking of incorporating the Petrodollar, or futures contracts denominated in yuan, into the pricing structure of Saudi Arabian Oil Co., popularly known as Aramco. For 6 years, there have been intermittent discussions between Saudi Arabia and China over oil contracts priced in yuan. A photograph by Ahmed Jadala/Reuters. Even a portion of Saudi Arabia's roughly 6.2 million barrels per day of crude exports being priced in a currency other than dollars would be a significant shift. The Saudis have only exchanged oil in dollars since 1974 as part of an agreement with the Nixon administration that offered security guarantees for the country. Around 80% of all oil sales worldwide are conducted in dollars. Xinhua News Agency. The 10 Points. A private tour of the Wall Street Journal's finest scoops and stories each day. Preview. Subscribe. Oil contracts priced in yuan were introduced by China in 2018 as part of its efforts to make its currency tradable globally, but they haven't been able to challenge the dollar's hegemony over the oil market. United States sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program and on Russia in retaliation to the invasion of Ukraine have made utilizing dollars a risk for China. The courting of the Saudi kingdom by China has intensified. China has started investing in Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's pet projects, such as Neom, a futuristic new metropolis, and has assisted Saudi Arabia in developing its own ballistic missiles, providing advice on a nuclear program, and helping the country in other recent years. Later this year, the Chinese President Xi Jinping has been invited to visit Saudi Arabia. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and the Saudi Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan met in China in January. Image credit /Associated Press. President Biden, who declared during the 2020 campaign that the country should be a pariah for the 2018 murder of Saudi writer Jamal Khashoggi, has presided over a deterioration in U.S. Saudi relations. Last month, Mr. Biden and King Salman of Saudi Arabia had a phone conversation, but Prince Mohammed, who U.S. intelligence officials claim ordered the killing of Mr. Khashoggi, refused to participate. Additionally, it occurs as the United States' economic ties with Saudi Arabia deteriorate. Currently, the United States is one of the world's leading oil producers. Early 1990s imports of Saudi crude totaled 2 million barrels per day, but the U.S. Energy Information Administration estimates that by December 2021, that amount will have decreased to fewer than 500,000 barrels per day. China's oil imports, on the other hand, have increased over the past 3 decades in keeping with its growing economy. According to data from China's General Administration of Customs, Saudi Arabia was the country that supplied the most crude to China in 2021, selling 1.76 million barrels per day, followed by Russia at 1.6 million barrels per day. Scroll down to continue the advertisement. The environment has drastically changed. China is the largest petroleum importer in the world, and they are providing the kingdom with numerous attractive incentives, according to a Saudi official familiar with the negotiations. These factors have transformed the U.S. relationship with the Saudis. The official declared, China has been providing the kingdom with everything you could possibly conceive. Relationships between the U.S. Saudi Arabia and China. More. China's Xi is invited to visit Saudi Arabia amid troubled U.S. relations, March 14, 2021. During the Ukraine crisis, Saudi and Emirati leaders reject calls from Biden, March 8, 2022. Saudi Arabia starts producing ballistic missiles with assistance from China, December 23, 2021. Saudi Crown Prince's punishment for Khashoggi's murder is wanted, says Biden administration, February 28, 2021. Visit more. According to a senior U.S. official, it is not very likely and highly volatile and aggressive for the Saudis to sell oil to China in Yuan. The official claimed that the Saudis had previously proposed the idea when there was hostility between Washington and Riyadh. The Saudis might change their minds. Millions of barrels of oil traded daily from dollars to yuan could cause economic turmoil in Saudi Arabia, whose rial is pegged to the dollar. Prince Mohammed's advisors have been warning him that moving forward with the plan quickly could cause unpredictable economic damage. Increased yuan sales would bring Saudi Arabia closer to China's currency, which hasn't attracted the attention of foreign investors due to Beijing's strict control over it. The fiscal outlook of the Saudi government could also be harmed by contracting oil sales in a less stable currency. Prince Mohammed has been warned by some officials that accepting yuan payments for oil would put Saudi revenues backed by U.S. Treasury bonds abroad at risk, as well as the yuan's limited availability outside of China. The effect on the Saudi economy would probably depend on how much oil is sold and how much it costs. According to some economists, shifting away from oil sales in dollars would diversify the kingdom's source of income and may eventually cause it to repeg the rial to a basket of currencies, much like Kuwait's dinar. It would not be viewed negatively if it were done now, when oil prices are high. According to Monica Malik, chief economist at Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank, it would be seen as strengthening ties with China rather than otherwise. According to those who have been following their discussions, the Saudis still intend to conduct the majority of their oil transactions in dollars. However, the action might persuade other manufacturers to price their Chinese exports in yuan as well. Russia, Angola, and Iraq are China's other major oil suppliers. The Saudi move may weaken the dominance of the U.S. dollar in the global financial system, which Washington has relied on for years in order to print the treasury bills it uses to fund its budget deficit. According to economist Gal Luft, co-director of the Washington-based Institute for the Analysis of Global Security and co-author of a book about de-dollarization, the oil market, and by extension the entire global commodities market, is the insurance policy of the status of the dollar as reserve currency. The wall will start to collapse if that block is removed from it. Before Prince Mohammed, the de facto ruler of the kingdom, paid his first official visit to China in 2016, talks with China over oil pricing in yuan were said to have begun. According to the sources, the Crown Prince asked the kingdom's former energy minister, Khalid al-Falih, to research the suggestion. Mr. Falih gave Aramco the task of creating a memo that places a strong emphasis on the financial difficulties associated with the move to yuan pricing. Another person with knowledge of the meeting said, he really didn't think that was a good idea, but he could not stop the talks as the ship had already sailed. Saudi officials who support the change have argued that by paying Chinese contractors for domestic megaprojects with a portion of its yuan revenues, the kingdom could reduce some of the risks associated with the capital controls on the currency. China may also provide incentives to the kingdom, such as massive investments. Another official with knowledge of the negotiations claimed that yuan pricing could give the Saudis more clout with the Chinese and persuade Beijing to curtail its support for Iran. The kingdom cannot ignore China's desire to pay for oil imports in its own currency, according to Ali Shihabi, a NEOM board member and the former director of a pro-Saudi think tank in Washington. This is especially true in light of the fact that the U.S. and EU forbade the Russian central bank from selling foreign currencies from its reserve stockpile. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe to our channel before you go.